Okay, bring it in here. What's up, CHFFL? Sorry for no video last week, but those of you with keen observation skills may notice I'm not wearing glasses. I had LASIK done last week and I don't think I was actually allowed to do all this on the computer then. But today, we charge forward with week 5 of the 2024 season. Mark was your team of the week for week 4. Bill squeaked out a tight one over Pa that he really needed. Pa, coming off the team of the week, only scores 100 points. Wes and, believe it or not, Marty were both nipping at Mark's heels, both of them getting over 150. It's our last week before we head into interconference play. Right now in the Rumble Pack, I am tied with Max at 3-1 for the lead. Everybody else except for Grant are 2-2, so they're all right behind. In the Dual Shock division, Mark has the lead all to himself at 3-1. Dan is the reverse at 1-3. Everybody else sits 2-2. Notable waiver pickups this week: Dontavian Wicks went to Parker for $37. Grant bid 11 and Stan bid 10. Trey Sermon went to Bill for 29. Parker at 10. Mark picked up Tucker Kraft with $26. I was the only other bid at 8. I was really surprised with that. I thought Kraft was the get of the week here. Tight ends have just been so very inconsistent. For Mark to go and pick up a good one, I like that move. And finally, Justice Hill went to Grant for 7. Bill putting in a $0 bid. We did also have a follow-up bid on Thursday. I picked up Zamir White, Zeus, for 13. Stan bid 5. He's gonna miss this week, but guy gets 17 touches. He's worth more than nothing, I figure. Now let's get into week 5 previews. We have entered bye week hell. At least I know I have. A couple other teams are also gonna be hit hard. We're gonna start in the Dual Shock division.
I've been waiting for this.
We had a huge Thursday game, as I'm sure you all know. High scoring, overtime, lots of relevant players. Let's start with Mark leading the division against Stan at the very bottom. This could be interesting and could leave things very even going into interleague play. Stan finally got Drake London's breakout day, 33 points. Kirk Cousins throwing over 500 yards. And on the other side, Mark started out not too great, with Algier and Bucky Irving, his running backs, combining for 12. Remember, it is bye week hell. Mark is missing Tony Pollard, J.K. Dobbins, A.J. Brown, injury and bye week, and Jameson Williams. That is a pretty hard group to make up, especially when now we've already seen the consequences. Luckily, he got 18 points from Younghoe Koo. Always good for the kicker to come through for you. Bill, thanks to that Thursday game, right now Sleeper has Stan projected 143, highest in the league. Mark down at 112. Fantasy Pros actually has Stan the highest this week before the Thursday night games. Perfect 100, Mark down at a 90. Pretty big gap here. Mark does still have Kyron Williams and Jamar Chase to go, so two of his big hitters, although Stan has Lamb and Lamar Jackson. I'm going to have nightmares all year about taking Mahomes instead of Jackson. But anyway, I don't think it's that bold to say I think Stan holds on and takes this. That would put him at 2-3, Mark at 3-2. And everything's going to be messed up. Next, let's look at Marty and the Raccoon City Stars versus Banis and Les Enfants Terribles. I had to look if that was Brian Robinson or Bijan. Bijan, 10 points. Even though it was a huge Thursday game for everybody, Bijan just couldn't have his big day. Marty hasn't had anybody go yet. Fantasy Pros liked Banis 10 of their points more than Marty, but that was counting on Bijan having an RB1 day. Marty, after getting dunked on in the draft, has been loving his combo of Derrick Henry and Aaron Jones. Very savvy picks there. Fantasy Pros has Marty projected at 105 right now and Banis at 97. Banis doesn't have a kicker though, so that'll end up being very even. What a world, Banis rolling with Kareem Hunt as his RB2. Definitely like Marty to take the running back points, but wide receiver and tight end, Banis has a pretty good advantage at all of those. Love when we have two defenses going against each other. Marty has Minnesota against Banis's Jets, so that could be very interesting. This is tough. Projections are pretty much equal. I'm looking here. I like Marty. I'm taking Marty because I like Henry and Jones to give him enough of an edge. I'm not confident Kareem Hunt gets his 11 points because they could rotate. I just don't know what to expect out of that backfield. So, yeah, I'm going Marty. Last game in the Dual Shock division, Swan and the Tony Hawk Tua versus Mini and Sonic Springs to Rings. No points scored yet in this match. Nobody has had anybody play. Swan is missing Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert to bye, but otherwise buys aren't really affecting us much. Sleeper has Swan projected to win by about 9 points. Fantasy Pros seems to show an even bigger gap with Swan at 95 and Mini down at 84 in their ratings. Kelsey finally put up a Kelsey-ish game last week, but Swan has him evenly matched with George Kittle. Right now, you'd have to say, might even like Kittle better as a starter. And looking through here, it's been discussed plenty, but Swan just has the upside. Achane, Swift now, Jefferson, Marvin Harrison. I see the potential for them to put up a lot more points in total than Mini with Connor, P. Ryan, Kirk, Cooper. Good, solid squad, but doesn't have the upside. I'm taking Swan here, and I don't think I have to go that far into it. Now, over to the Rumble Pack. Let's start out with Parker versus Grant. Grant is undefeating at 0-4. Parker, 2-2. Now, for everybody else, playing Grant has pretty much been a bye, but if you look at the projection right now, Grant in the lead and looking to win. That's thanks to 31 from Darnell Moody on Thursday. Definitely not what we were expecting. As of now, Sleeper has Grant projected 120 and Parker down at 100. Even before that big game from Mooney, this was the game Fantasy Pros has liked Grant the most in, having him up at 79 to Parker's 87. Still good for Grant to get a little bit of a win somewhere. Jaden Daniels ended up being a great pick, and he was very hyped on him apparently, so good job there. Still like Josh Allen a little better, but if you had to have someone going up against Allen right now, Daniels is a good choice. Bye week's not playing a role here. Parker may be coming down a bit because Kenneth Walker's back into the equation and Charbonnet's ceding carries to him. Looking down the lineups, the guys I count on the most who still haven't gone, Kamara and Metcalf, both on Parker's team. Parker does still have to have a kicker, so you figure on Sleeper the projection should be closer to a 10-point difference than a 20-point difference. Even though we got the big Thursday game, I'm rolling with Parker to pull this one out. Next, important matchup of 2-2s. Bill and the Diddy Kincaid Racing go against Wes and Run Rashada Run. Bill feasting on Thursday. Mike Evans puts up 23. Wes has not had anybody go yet. Hurts on bye for Bill, Goff on bye for Wes. They're rolling with Geno Smith and Jordan Love, respectively. Although, come to think of it, Wes may consider Love to be a starter. I'm very curious to see how many points Trey Sermon gets Bill with Jonathan Taylor out. Sermon is the de facto starter. Just doesn't feel good, and this is from somebody who has him stashed in Dynasty. Jaden Reed has been proving to be a monstrous threat for Bill. Of course, Tyreek Hill suffering just like Jalen Waddle is. As long as Tua's out in Miami, neither of those guys are what you want them to be. Looking over at West, we saw T. Higgins pick it up a little bit last week with 12 points, hoping he can be who we know he can be. T. Higgins can be a mid to upper wide receiver too. Meanwhile, as much as I like James Cook, I think Breece Hall and the superior B. Robinson to outscore Bill in that area. Fantasy Pros preferred Bill 92-84, and he got a solid Thursday performance. Right now, I just don't feel confident that Wes is going to come back for this one. I'm going to stick safe and stay with Bill. Finally, what had to be our game of the week, my Kamala's Bad Slurp Day against Max and the Koopa Troopas, both sitting at 3-1 atop the Rumble Pack division. This will see who takes the lead going into interconference play. Max, a big surprise this year. I didn't have high hopes for him, but he came out of the draft very strong, and he hasn't had Christian McCaffrey either. 25 points from Baker Mayfield on Thursday. I played Baker Mayfield in this league, in the Dynasty League, and in my family league. Not like it was the worst thing, 25 points, but it's kind of annoying. For me, Godwin of 11.6 is fine. Just a little down from what he's been getting, especially disappointing with Baker on the other side going off. Kyle Pitts, big surprise. Huge day for everybody in Atlanta. 15.8. Be happy with that. When I say bye week hell, that was really specifically directed at myself. I'm missing Barkley, Montgomery, Gibbs, and Laporta. When you have the whole Lions team, that'll happen. But missing Barkley at the same time stinks. Although Laporta probably wouldn't have put up 15 points. Right now, my running backs are not too strong, with Chase Brown and Antonio Gibson. Two, what I would call backups. There's been rumors about Gibson taking over more of a role and Brown getting some work, but it hasn't happened yet for either of them, so I'm starting 2 backup running backs. However, I do still have Nico to go. All my hope is in Nico. All the time, everywhere. Jalen Waddle just doesn't feel good to send him out there. I don't know. Do I switch to Tank Dell? I start 2 Houston receivers. I'll have to pray on that. Don't feel great about either of them. Over on Max's side, Walker is back in now and playing. Jordan Mason has been a very solid fill-in for CMC, to say the least. So definitely a big advantage for Max at running back. I expect Patrick Mahomes to get about 5 points because that's just where we are now, where I had a great draft strategy all the way through and just gonna be kicking myself forever over taking Mahomes. I thought he's got these guys. He's got Rice seemed pretty good, and this Worthy guy's fast. Oh, and he's gonna have Hollywood Brown too. Well, no Hollywood Brown, no Rice. Looking at receiver, Max is looking pretty good too with Garrett Wilson and DJ Moore. Don't expect Jawan Johnson to match Kyle Pitts' 15. I had to click and check that Cortland Sutton actually has been putting up points. After sitting on him in Dynasty for a while, he's just been the perpetual disappointment his whole career. Anyway, right now, Sleeper has this as a 10-point difference in favor of Max. Fantasy Pros liked Max up at a 96 before the week started. Me down at an 88 without my running backs, which is still pretty good. But with no Barkley, no Gibbs or Monty, Waddle still not having to. I'm going to take myself anyway. Boys need a boost. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck, everybody. See you next week.